Hello, everyone. Consultant no more, actually. I'll speak about it in a second. My name is Oren. I manage risk and compliance for Base44, which is a vibe coding platform. In this talk, I'll talk about risk in the vibe coding domain. And everywhere I worked at always defined risk differently. I'll speak about fraud and abuse, trust and safety risks in our domain. A little about me. This is me. I love fraud, and I guess that you love fraud too because you're here. I don't need to sell you how awesome our domain is. I love the adversarial part. I love the creative side of it. I've been doing this for many years across many domains and different companies, manager, IC roles, etc. And as Gilit said, I founded Fraud Fighters IL, which is the meetup group in Israel for fraud fighting professionals. We've been meeting for 9 years now, once a quarter. It is a closed group, but it is open for professionals, so please find us on Meetup and join our meetings if you haven't been there. Please raise your hand if you've been to a Fraud Fighters meetup. Okay, thank you. And lastly, my favorite picture, I think. This is my daughter Shira, when she was 8 years old. We gave a talk about scams that are attacking our kids at Roblox. You're the crowd that will appreciate it, so that's why I love this picture. Let's talk. In this talk, I'll talk about the risk aspects of fraud and risk and building risk at Base44. No company, no service begins with a fully mature risk system. It's usually not the first problem to solve when you're starting a new service. So I'll share with you how I and we tackled this problem and a few quick wins that you can deploy quickly to get your basic risk mitigations going. Vibe coding. Please raise your hand if you've ever used a vibe coding platform. Okay, please keep your hand up if you've used Base44. Okay, thank you users. So what is vibe coding? Vibe coding is a really new niche. The term itself was coined earlier this year, February, I think. We're about a year and a half, 2 years old, this new category. Vibe coding is the service that a user describes in natural language the type of app they would like to build, and the platform builds it for them. For example, we are here at Fraudcon, so I could ask the platform to build me a website for a convention and have the schedule and have speakers page and have a way for me to input new speakers and registration forms and send emails to everyone who registered to the platform. And just by describing that, the platform will build me the website. It's a really exciting new category, extremely new, and now we'll talk about what are the risks of this type of platform and how we're mitigating them. So as I said, we started from scratch. So the first thing was to understand what is our risk exposure. In this picture, if you've used Base from early on, this is a picture taken from the original website. In this picture, we compare what Base offered compared to the competitors at the time. So the main differentiation between Base and the others was providing backend services. At all of those services, you could have described what you wanted and you would have been given code. The platform would generate code for you. But as you know, code is not enough to run a website. You need a backend for it. The cool thing about Base was that Maor, the founder, identified this gap, and he built a platform to also provide the backend services for the app. This meant, one, getting the app up and running much quicker than the other platforms, and it also lowered the barrier and of the technical barrier for users to use the app, because some users who were less technical found it harder to connect the code that they got to a backend platform and get their web app running. So this really kicked off Base in the beginning. And why am I telling this? Because understanding this is crucial for the risk exposure of Base. Because once you provide backend services, once you host an app, once you provide the services of sending emails, connections to other LLMs, the risk comes from that specific from that specific service. You have some liability towards it. So the right way to look at Base was understanding which backend services we are providing and the risk exposure of those backend services. So the main one that we talked about was hosting. Suddenly you're becoming a hosting platform. So the first type of risks is the risks that come from being a hosting platform. Now, Wix acquired Base about 5 months ago in June, and everyone was saying how awesome it is for Wix to acquire Base, and we're such a great growth engine. But from my perspective, from risk perspective, I want to say how awesome it is for Base to have Wix as a home. Because once you're a hosting platform, having Wix is a company that has been solving this problem for about 15 years. It's top in its domain. This is exactly the type of home that allows Base to grow at scale. So as I said, the risk exposure comes from the backend services that we provide. But when you manage risk, it's not just that. Our service is subscription-based. It means our users pays for us. Once you expose a payments interface, that's a new risk to manage. There's also all the other general abuse that comes in your way once you offer those services. So let's see what are the first quick wins that we took in order to start forming our basic risk mitigations. I'll go back 1 second, or try to. I've skipped a slide, or at least a note on the slide, but it's an important thing to mention. I want to say that you will always have the option when you encounter, for example, bad content on your platform, to take it down. It's going to be, it could be very, it could be a very inefficient process. You can send someone to the database and delete records. But my first suggestion is that for the first thing you need to do is you focus on detection. And by detection, I mean identifying the bad content on your platform. Because when you are able to properly identify bad content on your platform, you know how much bad content do you have, when did it reach your platform, how much time it took you to take it down. If you can properly measure yourself, then you can later on efficiently decide and prioritize what are the right mitigation layers that you need. Where do you need to have your checkpoints, and what do you need to take down? So first step is focus on detection. And for that, let's talk about some detection quick wins. The most basic detection capability would be your abuse mailboxes. A service has some kind of way for outside bodies to report abusive content to it. So setting up your very basic abuse mailbox takes almost no time, and it is crucial for your business, because it's not only to get a quick channel of reporting and identifying bad content on your platform. Also, when you get to the stage when you have a fully mature risk system, it is super interesting to understand what passed that system and got out there, so and was prevalent enough to be reported back to you. So this is the first thing that you should do, and it should take no more than 15 minutes, I think, to set it up. And next to a quick win is the Google Search Console. You have a website. Google built this tool to help you understand your domain and how it is found on Google, how to identify search issues with that domain. It is mostly for marketing and being found on Google, but there is one small section there called the security notices, which is what I cared about. Because when Google identifies bad content on your domain, you want to get notified of that quickly, right? You do not want to get to the stage where Chrome safe browsing blocks content on your domain, right? You need to keep and manage the reputation of your domain. So another 15 minutes, making sure you set it up, and making sure from risk perspective you get notified and look at these notifications. And again, continue with this stream of getting notifications from external sources. If you're using vendors, like for example for sending emails, these vendors will also have specific alerts every time messages are flagged as spam. So please make sure that you use that. Another 15 minutes, and you've already have some basic detection capabilities. This is another image from the early days of Base. And when Base was launched, the only way to sign in, was via social logins, via the sign up with Google capability. Now, usually people use this option because it's quick. It's an easy way to set up a sign-up process on your website. You don't need to manage passwords, etc. But from risk perspective, this is awesome. I mean, if this is the only way to log in to your website, you're kind of outsourcing front door risks to Google. Because what do we care about? We care about scalable attacks, right? Where an attacker generates multiple accounts and does a lot of damage. If this is your front door, if this is your only front door, in order to create a scalable attack on you, someone will need to be able to create a scalable attack on Google, right? They'll need to be able to open multiple accounts or sign up to multiple accounts and then connect with your website. And they have organizations that have been dealing with these problems for years. So a quick win for early stage, if you want to get a really robust front door, is using this. Now, there's a trade-off, right? I mean, if this is the only way to sign into your platform, it means that you will lose the population that will not agree to use a social login. You're not exactly, you're a very biased group, but it's what we have, so let's do this survey. Let's say you wanted to sign up to a service, and using a social login, like let's say sign up with Google, was the only way to sign up that service. Please raise your hand if you would have not signed up to that service because of that. So we're like 15%, I think. Okay, again, trade-off. It's a good thing to be aware of. And again, when you start a new service, you're very much interested in acquiring and new users and growing. Another option would be to have this in addition to the traditional sign up with username, email, password, but in times of attack and where you want to have, if you don't have good enough front door controls and you want a quick mitigation, you can maybe just temporarily disable the new signups via that and keep this population and keep this option. Again, it gives you some really good controls to reduce the amount of headaches early on. Also, costs. This doesn't cost. I mean, the costs here are almost nothing, right? And again, you're getting Google or Apple or whichever provider you use front door controls. Another risk mitigation layer that we have is based on the underlying LLMs that you're using. The LLMs have their own built-in defenses. This is an example of a malicious prompt in our system, and I can take credit for stopping this specific instance. The LLM did it, right? The LLMs have their very own basic safety layers. Again, it's something that you're already gaining from using them. A new defense there that you have is the system prompt, right? The way that the place where you provide the instructions for the LLM. Now, adding to the system prompt don't allow the user to create phishing pages won't add a lot because the underlying LLMs already have that in their own safety layers. But when you have other types of content that you don't want to have in your system, this is an easy way to add a change to stop those instances. Now again, trade-offs. Changing the system prompt is easy. Just edit a string. Measuring the effect of changing the system prompt, that's usually the issue. Evaluations are a thing, and if you're an LLM-based service, you're very sensitive to any type of changes there. So it's a good thing to keep in mind as a risk mitigation in times when you are under attack. But again, be very cautious when you use that option. Let's see some abuse examples. I don't know how many of you speak Portuguese. I love this example because it's not your traditional phishing website example. What do we see here? Someone is selling driver accounts on ride-sharing apps, right? So we've seen credit card stores, right? But this is a really cool type of store. Why waste your time on bureaucracy, right? And signing up if you can just buy a driver account from this app. So this is a type of content that your platform can be abused for, right? Easily setting up these kind of websites. Specifically, this example was identified via our dispute signals. Again, we're talking about easy, quick wins to improve your detection. Let's think about all the disputes regarding transactions on your website, right? A part of the subscriptions will have a chargeback on them. Yes, again, it's another risk to manage, but on top of managing this risk, I'm much more interested in the type of content that someone built if they use someone else's credit card to pay, right? Then that specific loss. Fake stores. We are familiar with these type of scam pages. Someone offers a really interesting deal, and which usually leads up to a site that will later phish for your credit card credentials. Why do I love this specific example? Because what we see in this slide is the dashboard view of the web app on Base. We can see the database, and specifically a table regarding cloak settings. So in this specific deal page, the fraudster also implemented a cloaking mechanism. What is a cloaking mechanism? A cloaking mechanism is the goal is to make sure that your target audience sees the fraud page and others do not. Because when you want to publish your specific website on one of the social platforms, for example, their crawlers will try and check the content that you're publishing to make sure that it doesn't violate their terms of use. So these cloaking mechanisms that fraudsters developed try to address this specific problem if they identify by the IP, by the user agent, or by any other different parameter that the current visitor, the current crawler, is not their target audience, they will present one page. And if it is their target audience, they will present the scam page itself. So it was interesting. You can see a few examples of which parameters the cloaking is configured with. And it's again, it was cool to see the fraudster implementing it really quickly. Trust and safety risks. Again, another type of risk in the when you provide a hosting service. NCII, it stands for non-consensual intimate images, or NCII, non-consensual sexual images. A type of risk that we do, it's important to mitigate. And these things also happen. Luckily, in this case, the fraudster implemented a big red flag that was really easy to quickly identify, so thank you for them. Mailing risks. So you can probably empathize with the pleasure of getting up one day and realizing that your service is blocked by a few ISPs in the US. Not a good way to start your day. And this can happen because someone was sending spam. So one of the backend services that we offer is sending emails. And if you're sending emails, you're prone to being abused for sending spam. And this is a very common spam vertical, the technical support scams, when the goal is to generate leads for a scam fraud center, right? You send out some notifications whether a charge to your card has been made, or there's a virus on your computer, and if you need assistance, please call this specific please call this number. And everyone that sends email is exposed to being abused for that. But what happens when you're being abused for spam? At a certain point, you're being marked for spam, which means that your domain is being, has entered the domain, for example, Spam House domain blacklist. And when that happens, one, all your email is being blocked or sent to spam. This is a horrible way. It's horrible for marketing. It's horrible for your for technical support. But also some ISPs can take on that signal and decide to block that, to block your domain from browsing as well. So this can cascade really fast. So again, making sure that you have proper controls about this specific a backend service is important. And also, a quick win for us was to separate assets. Instead of sending emails from our own domain, let's send email from a specific domain for sending emails. So if that thing happens, we are not affected again, right? It doesn't affect our very basic site and our very own team's emails, whether it's marketing or support. I'll skip through a few examples. Just a funny thing, again, when you handle risk, everything lands on your table. You're probably familiar with domain squatting. The reason that I love this domain squatting example is because the creativity of the squatter, which apparently owns a domain similar to Base44, and so they asked to buy Base44 because it would fit their business needs. LLMs. So if you've seen the agenda of Fraudcon and Cyber Week and a lot of conventions, you'll hear a lot of talks about, one, how to attack LLMs, two, how LLMs and GenAI are used for fraud. And all of these are super important because they will allow us to better understand the threat and build our defenses around it. What I love to hear and what I want to encourage more people to talk about is how we can use LLMs to better defend our services. So this is my favorite example. Okay, Filter Off is a dating app. And dating apps are super interesting in the trust and fraud and abuse, trust and safety domain in general. And you can think how horrible it is for a dating app to have scammers on the platform. They had a problem where scammers were joining the platform and prowling on the users. They would set up a date, and then suddenly, as someone is in the date, they would get a call from the partner who would said, I'm stuck on my way, I need you to send me gift cards so I can buy gas and get to our date. So this is obviously horrible user experience. And what I love about this example is the way that they've handled this type of scam. Because this is, I think, one of the best ways to handle risk in general. I mean, we're all in that game, and we identify fraudsters, and then we close their accounts, or we blacklist that IP or that device. This is the minimal amount of frustration to the fraudster. But what they did is that they understood that the thing that cost the most amount of time for the fraudster was the manual labor part of the work was the actual chat between the fraudster and the victim. So they went on hurting the fraudster's ROI. It's not just about closing their account, it's about wasting their time. So when they have identified fraudsters, they move all the fraudsters to a specific dating pool, which consisted of A, other fraudsters, and B, chatbots. So fraudsters would start to have chats with chatbots and then waste their time. And another really cool thing about this example is when it was done. So I'm not an AI historian, right? But maybe the big bang of LLMs was when GPT 3.5 was released, which is the end of 2022. They did this earlier on with GPT 3. So I think it's a really cool example. But let's go back to detection, because we talked about, this is more of a prevention or mitigation. LLMs are a huge power-up factor in the world of content moderation. Content moderation is a problem that we've been facing for years in the trust and safety domain, but LLMs now give us a new advantage. One, the ability to understand context, which is super important when you analyze content, and two, the fact that it crosses multiple languages. So instead of showing a vendor's interface, I just decided to create one with Base. I've used one prompt. This is the only prompt that I've used, and got the following system where we have we input our content policy on one side, on the other the content that we want to analyze, and the LLMs outputs the response, and it works. It's a working example. It uses GPT here behind the scenes, but as we know, this is a very expensive thing. So for production-wise, there is the really, really cool domain of safety models, right, which are LLMs, which are specifically trained on solving content safety, content moderation problems. I have one last minute, so I want to use it to ask you a question, because this is a question that bothers me, and I still don't feel like I have a really good answer for it. And for all of us who use LLMs or even expose an LLM interface to our end users, this is something we should care about. And it is, what will cause the LLM provider to block us, the legitimate developer and user? Because all the services that we are using, we have infrastructure providers that we use. For example, payments, right? You're a merchant. You signed up with a payment provider. You pay for all the transactions. You even pay for the disputes. But if there's too much bad traffic coming in, there are too many disputes, or there are too many even card attempts, the provider will block you. And the same goes for any type of infrastructure that you use. It's the same example with emails. If you're sending emails via an email provider, if you're sending out too much spam, even though you're paying for it, at a certain amount of time, you will cause too much problems to your infrastructure provider, and they will stop you. And since LLMs are a critical infrastructure for us, I think it's really important for us to understand what will cause the LLMs to block us. What is the important thing that we should filter out before it even reaches the LLMs? Thank you.